cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, video extravaganza, known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'.
Hi, Mom.
It's show number 222 today. We are going to be talking, the original plan was.
The original plan.
Yeah, we were going to talk single malt and rye with a whiskey expert. So we have the whiskey expert here, but the show may be taking a different course, and so we'll explain that in a moment. But welcome to show number 222. My name is Cruze. My co-host is Ian Barry.
Howdy, y'all.
And our erstwhile guest is our favorite whiskey expert, Mr. Kristopher Hart. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, guys. It's so funny. As soon as you said we're live, then I saw the title of the episode.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give you a hard time about it, but I couldn't. I had to wait till you. I had to wait till you go.
See, that was, like I said, that was the plan.
Damn
but
title.
I think we may be headed a complete different direction.
Oh,
but
what was the title? I didn't see the title.
The title was Talking Single Malt and Rye with a Whiskey Expert.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've got a great list that I can share of 10 distilleries that are said to be making the best American single malt whiskey. And I love having lists like this whenever we have Chris on the show, because it's so difficult to get opinions out of him.
That's
you
right.
know what I'm saying?
It's true.
It's so difficult to get him to say what he really thinks. I love it when he says 100%. His responses are generally one of two things: 100% or that's garbage. It's usually one of those two things.
You know, I never considered myself very opinionated until I became friends with you guys.
Yeah, see?
So I'm starting to develop some opinions about you two. Go ahead, ask me about them.
Join the club, my friend. Join the club.
Some questions we just don't ask.
So Chris has been on our show as many times as just about anyone. I know there's some contest that is in Alan Denny's mind about who has been on more, Chris or him. But it's very close, and we love having Chris on. And Chris, by the way, is the host of his own show, which is fantastic. It's called Whiskey Neat. And Chris, real quick, tell people where they can get the show.
Yeah, I host a show weekly on ESPN here in Houston on 97.5 FM. You can check it out, of course, every Friday on YouTube and all your podcasting platforms. And then, of course, that's pretty much it. I host a show every week.
And you're also responsible for the Houston Whiskey Social and the Houston Bourbon Society, and we'll get to more of those things as we go.
I definitely have my hand in all of those things, yeah.
Okay, so we'll get to more of that.
I think of you as a drinking buddy.
And I think of him
so.
as a whiskey expert because I read Texas Monthly Magazine, and that's how they referred to him. So I thought, well, if it's good enough for them, it certainly, is good enough for me.
For anyone who's incensed by the title of this episode, which I'm sure the comments are going to reflect as much eventually, it's a running joke because Texas Monthly referred to me as a whiskey expert. This is the one hobby that moniker will get you in some flack for sure.
Yeah, well, everybody's got an opinion, like you were saying.
Jessica Kern says, Chris Hart opinionated? Gasp.
I'm a subject matter, I would say subject matter expert on some things, but everyone has their lane. The category is so broad.
Okay, so, and you've got opinions about beer, which we're going to get to here in a little while. You've got some very specific opinions about how a beer should be poured.
No.
And that's going to become...
I love how this man presented this.
Yeah, that is the most biased presentation I've ever seen.
Well,
so let's be clear. I have my opinion is I'm pouring it how I want to pour it.
Right.
Everyone else's opinions are too hoity-toity and stuck up that they need to relax a little bit.
So what you're saying is your opinion is
more relaxed
and considered. Others' opinions are over the top and not necessarily true.
Correct.
Okay.
There we go.
You remember
run for office.
You remember that George Carlin skit where he talks about when you're driving, everyone that goes faster than you is a maniac, and everyone that goes slower is an idiot?
Yes. It's absolutely true. It's absolutely true.
I know it's not the same, but listen, this whole thing started because I poured aggressively and everyone else commented on it. Mm-hmm. It really is. a little similar to that Carlin situation, but it's really everyone else giving me a hard time and me defending myself.
Okay, that's fair enough. You're certainly allowed to do that.
You're
And-
allowed to be very defensive.
And as we know, this show is a great platform for people to defend themselves or others. In fact, Chris came on the show and defended Nat
here we
Sherman,
go.
if you remember
Yeah,
that.
I remember
it was
that.
early on, when I was saying I'll never smoke another one again. But of course now I can. I haven't done it. I haven't bought any Nat Shermans. But now that all it is tobacconists cleaning out their inventory because there is no more Nat Sherman.
You won. You won.
Well, I guess you can say that. But the brand has been picked up by someone else. So the brand will continue, but now it'll no longer be a part of the conglomerate anti-cigar group that it was a part of before. So so it'll be fine. You can enjoy your Nat Shermans if that's the cigars you like. The best Nat Sherman I ever smoked was one you gave me.
The timeless.
Was the
or
timeless?
timepiece.
Yeah. That's a great cigar. So here we are with show number 222. A brief apology for last week. We didn't have power in the studio, so it wasn't really possible to do a show. And I decided, rather than staple one together on Skype where we didn't even have the control board anyway, would have been almost impossible to do. We decided to skip a week. So we're back now with 222.
I smoked a lot of cigars last week
I bet you
because the
did.
temperature inside my house and the temperature outside the house wasn't too different.
So you might as well be
So I
outside,
might as well
bundled
hang
up.
out outside.
Yeah, it's funny because I talked to Ian around the middle of the week, as most
Yeah,
people
that was
know
on
by
Tuesday
now. Yeah, as
when
most
I
people
talked to you.
know by now, Texas was either without power or the subject of rolling power blackouts for most of the week last week. And I talked to Ian and said, "How you doing, bud?" And he says, "I got power at my house," and I think the power at your house went out like 20 minutes later.
Yeah, you cursed me.
I'm so sorry.
Have you guys discussed that on the show?
With the whole power thing?
The power thing.
We
the,
just got
the,
here.
The
Yeah.
political nature of all that, and the Ted Cruz thing, and
Yeah, well, you don't want to get me started on Ted Cruz. I
Yeah.
know that. So no, we really haven't, because this is our first show back since it all happened. I'm just glad we have power and water now,
Yeah.
and that we can be back in the studio doing it. And I think there will be a reckoning among the power companies. I think they have to. The public's too. I mean, people died.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
it's not just a matter of inconvenience. There were actually people who lost their lives because they didn't have heat and warmth. So anyway, we could spend the whole show on that, but we have a tub full of beers here that Chris brought, and we have a lot of other things to talk about. And I need to mention that we're brought to you by mycigarshirts.com. It is available on the web. They have great shirts for cigar lovers and the people who love them, and they started under $20, and they're a little bit snarky, and I think you'll like them, and they're a sponsor of the show. So thanks for supporting them. mycigarshirts.com, because
Cigars.
yes. So Chris, one of the things we've been able to do as we've gone through 222 episodes of this show is we've been able to connect with experts in various fields. We have our tequila expert, Liliana Rodriguez, who's terrific. I mean, she taught us more about tequila in one show than I've learned like my whole life about tequila.
She is pretty amazing.
She's fantastic. We have our wine expert, Mark Burrell, who was with us, 2 weeks ago, talking wines for Valentine's Day. And we've got a host of other. I'm not sure what Alan Denny's an expert on, but I'm sure it must be something.
He's an expert on being Alan Denny.
I think
you,
that's
by the
true.
way, are being Chris. You were being
Already?
absolutely roasted in the
here it is.
comments.
All right, let's see it. I knew it. I knew it was coming. Let's see here. Oh Lord Jesus.
So starting right after the last Jessica Kearns that I read, Alan Denny put 3 of my favorite people, and Chris too.
So he means you, me, and Adam, and also Chris, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's nice to be someone's favorite person. So it's been a crazy couple of weeks. Ian, you mentioned smoking a lot of cigars. Was there anything that stood out to you that you want to talk about today?
I smoked a whole bunch of lawnmowers last week, so to speak, because it was cold.
Yeah, right.
I was just standing outside anyway. So I did a whole lot of this. When your patio freezes over and it's just ice. So I did a lot of this like skating around on my shoes,
Yeah.
and just kind of having fun with that. But I did go to the Casa this morning and I picked out a cigar, and apparently it's one that's been there for a while. I picked out a Foundry Elements Hydrogen.
Oh, interesting.
These came out, I think, in 2013, apparently, when I looked it up. This was part of their Compounds, Elements, and Musing series. This was a 6.5 by 46 by 56 pyramid.
Okay.
So long pyramid. Very nice looking cigar. Light brown, slightly reddish tint to to the wrapper. I think it doesn't. There was not a lot of information on what was in it. It said the information given for what tobacco was in a cigar was Nicaragua, Ecuadorian, and Misterioso. So
Misterioso. Yeah.
I'm assuming it was a Ecuadorian Habano wrapper because of the color and everything. It was that light brown with slightly reddish tint.
I think Misterioso is grown in Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken. That's why it's so mysterious.
So mysterious. It had this cool little gremlin band on it. It had the hydrogen symbol on the footer. Looked really nice. Very firm, veiny, slightly box pressed on the end. I took a picture of the end because it looked really cool. Yeah, that was pretty much it on how it looked. Pre-light sniff, earth, hay, barnyard, hints of sweetness. Not a whole lot going on. It smelled really nice, though. The pre-light draw, I used a clip. It had kind of a tight draw. Creamy coffee and earth I was picking up with a sweetness and a hint of spice on it. Again, not super complex, but just a few things I was picking up from it. The initial light, earth and fermented hay, tangy tea leaf, slight pepper and underlying sweetness going on. The first third of this. Pepper and sweetness create the backbone of this cigar. Cashew nuttiness was like the prevalent flavor with fermented hay, black tea, coffee, and toast. Solid ash, perfect burn. I did not drop the ash on me, by the way.
Oh, nice.
You're
wearing a black shirt and it looks spotless.
No ash spots. Toast and coffee and dance around the cashew nuttiness and creamy sweetness that's float around on top of the earthy, spicy foundation on the second third of this. Solid ash, spicy burn. The last third of this, pepper and spices diminish, settling into sweet nuttiness and coffee with a big toasty flavor. Solid ash, perfect burn. I paid $6 for this cigar. I'm giving it a 7. It was awesome.
I was going to say it's $6. That sounds really
good. At $6,
good.
it was an amazing cigar. If it was a $10 cigar, it might have gotten a 5. But at $6, absolutely outstanding bang for the buck.
Whenever you can find anything 8 and under that's really good, it's like a cause for celebration in my book. And if you find something at 6.5, it's like wow,
outstanding.
Yeah. So that's a humidor stalker.
So that's
there.
my experience with it. I can't say the right words today.
It's all
my
right.
words are weird.
So now you know how I feel every day.
A little starstruck next to a whiskey expert.
It happens. It's a little bit difficult to.
We really do razz you a lot.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's
no,
okay.
I'm not sorry, but
you should razz me because I'm very razz-worthy.
I think we have a new word. I love that. Razworthy.
Razworthy.
By the way, Jessica Kearns commented on the comments on the show that Chris has more opinions than Ted Cruz has vacations.
I'm over here trying not to cry reading some of these comments. And now Greg Duxakis has showed up.
Yeah, well,
I love that guy.
You can always count on Docs for
something good. Have you seen him lately?
We haven't seen Docs since we did the show at his house, remember? We did the show on his back porch.
He looks exactly like the human personification of Scar from Lion King.
Oh, really? So he's just let his
hair grow out.
Wow.
He's got the real pointy, and then it just this long flowing
this
mane.
doesn't surprise me because Docs is a big Disney
guy.
Yeah, he loves the whole Disney thing, and so I would imagine he's actually going for Lion King. Doc, send us a photo on the comments if you got one.
I wouldn't be surprised.
We'll share it. Well, I had an interesting cigar this week, Ian. I decided to try the Gurkha 15 years.
Give me a second. Hold on. Did you stop and buy a Gurkha?
Well, somehow.
It's weird. I have a hard time doing that.
I know, I do too. And somehow, I don't remember, to be honest, when I got this. It's been in my humidor for a while.
I might have given it to you.
It might have been given to me. Yeah. So it's a.
Because there was a moment in time where I was like, oh, Gurkha sounds so cool.
Well, it's a little confusing, the name of this cigar. It's a Gurkha 15-year 10th anniversary Toro.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that maybe that means the tobacco's 15 years old, but it's the 10th anniversary of Gurkha. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Gurkha's been around for more.
Right.
But I think Gurkha's been around for more than 10 years.
Yeah,
so I don't know. Anyway.
And those came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, right. These have been out for a while. It's been in my humidor for a long time.
I know they've been around since at least the Clinton administration.
Well, there's that.
There is that. And that
is a perfect joke.
If you don't know the reference, look it up.
We'll see how they aged. So here's what Cigar.com said about this particular smoke. It said Gurkha's Cellar Reserve, and this is a Cellar Reserve 15-year series, represents, and this was written at the time they came out, I assume, a new chapter in their history. It's the selection of blends that best captures the crux of the company's philosophy on, and I didn't write this, quality over quantity, cost, or convenience.
Well, that's
What about
not
a little
true.
sound thing?
Cellar Reserve also reflects Gurkha's renewed focus. Yeah, where is our little...
That needed a.
I'll even go
Yeah,
back and
yeah.
read it again.
You need a light behind me that it's the bullshit light and just hit the button.
It's the selection of blends that best captures the crux of the company's philosophy on quality over quantity, cost, or convenience. Cellar
was timed
Reserve
right.
also reflects Gurkha's renewed focus on using extremely well-aged leaf, some of it cultivated nearly 2 decades ago. Yeah, so, all right, so Gurkha probably deserves this derision. Because let's face it, we went through. There's a show where I have the photos of the Gurkha cigar that I smoked, and it looks like one of those joke cigars that you light it up and
And
it
it
explodes
explodes.
in the guy's mouth. It just like shattered into pieces from just normal like cutting and smoking.
we
Like,
did talk.
like my Room 101 cigar.
That was not as bad as the Gurkha. Not as bad.
So we talk a lot of trash about Gurkha, but I think they kind of deserve it because they started off making great cigars,
Yes,
and then
they did.
and then
Yes, they
they
did.
just turned to like their construction was
Well, Rocky
terrible.
Patel started doing the same thing,
Yeah.
right? They did those voodoo ones, and they got to this point where it was a new cigar every week, and they just got more and more garbage.
But if you think about it now, Rocky cigars have achieved a great level of consistency. I haven't had a bad one in several years.
I think they stopped doing what they were doing wrong.
Right,
So
exactly.
they came out with like I want to say 3, maybe 5 years ago. Within that time period, there was a new Gurkha, or I'm sorry, a new
Rocky
Patel every year, every month.
Right.
It seemed like, and they were one-off brands that just kind of went away.
And the ones that remained, though, the
Oh,
decade, the anniversary,
vintage,
like,
1990,
fantastic.
1992,
Yeah.
you still can't go wrong with
Even
those.
the Edge,
Oh, I
at
love-
its cost, they're just fantastic.
The
The
Edge
Edge,
is great,
the
yeah.
Edge are great yardgars.
They really are. They really are. So maybe Gurkha deserves the same consideration.
Well, I think what they were doing is like they knew that had been said about them for quite some time.
Right.
And I think that was their effort to fix it, but maybe not openly address it in such a weird, ironic way.
I think that's probably true. So here's what I did. I smoked
Not that it's my opinion or anything.
No, we know that you have, the occasional opinion. So the 10th anniversary features an Ecuadorian rosado wrapper and Nicaraguan binder and fillers. It's a very pretty cigar, classic double band, and you'll see in the photos here. I mean, it looks really pretty. As many of you know, of course, construction was a major issue with Gurkhas. I swore them off at one point, but recently they've been doing better, so let's see how this goes. Pre-light on the cigar was a mix of barnyard hay and leather with some earthiness. So I used a punch and I lit it, and 2 things happened right away. The first was that I got a very welcome blast of Nicaraguan pepper that really kind of tickled and delighted the senses. The second was that the cigar developed an immediate runner, and I don't know if that picture's up yet, but you'll see it. It's only smoked like 1/10 of an inch in, and there's a little runner started already, a little canoe. So I was like, oh boy, here we go, right? But it basically was small. It made the first third of the cigar burn crooked. But the ash held on. And when I say crooked, it was like, here's the cigar, and then the ash was like at an angle from the cigar. But the ash held on, and I was able to continue to smoke it. And I thought, let's just see how this goes.
See where
Yeah.
it goes.
So flavors for the first third were very nice. I enjoyed the black pepper, along with some nice nuttiness and some leather. Once the first third was gone, I made the decision to tip the crooked ash because I knew it was going to wind up on my shirt, and I just like, no, I better do this now. So interestingly enough, once I tipped the ash, the cigar looked a lot better. I mean, the burn was still not super even, but it was acceptable looking as it smoked. So I kept at it. Second third, although it didn't burn evenly, it was better. A toasty flavor, a little bit of lime zest became noticeable in the flavors, medium bodied. Final third ramped up a little bit in intensity. Chocolate notes along with the pepper and some green tea on the retrohale. So rating this one, a little bit of a dilemma for me. Gurkha clearly still has some construction issues, but it's nothing like the exploding cigar from from back in the day, right? This was actually pretty manageable. I touched it up with the lighter one time. There was a side of it that didn't seem to be burning quite as well. I touched it up, and from there on in, it was, it wasn't bad in terms of the burn, and the flavors were great. I loved the kind of medium full in the last third. It was really tasty. That said, it's about a $12 to $13 cigar.
Ooh. So,
to me, that's too expensive to have construction issues. It was good. I'll give it a thumbs up on the overall experience, but a 4.5 for price to quality. I enjoyed it. I would actually smoke another one, if for no other reason, just to see,
if it did the same
if it was
thing.
better or worse
Right.
in terms of construction. But I did really enjoy it. The flavor was terrific.
Can I counter that?
Sure.
So there is the guy that pioneered Whistle Pig, Raj Bhakta, went on to start Bhakta Spirits.
By the way, this is our whiskey expert speaking, and he shrugs off the title. But here's a perfect example of the things that you know.
Well, okay, so God, I hate you so much. Raj started bottling brandy.
Right.
And he went and found the oldest casks he could find. And he does sell a bottle that is a blend of like 6 barrels, and the youngest barrel is 50 years old. The oldest barrel is literally, I think, from the 1800s.
Okay.
So it's somewhere between 50 years old and 200 years old, all within the same bottle. It arguably does not taste great. But for $300, which is a pricey bottle in that realm, for a real piece of history, it doesn't taste bad. It doesn't taste great.
Okay.
Kind of like the Gurkha
It's
cigar.
enjoyable, but it's not like what you would expect for $300.
But yes, but if it was amazing, it should be a $3,000 bottle, right?
Okay.
You get what I'm getting at? So the fact that you're getting 15-year-old tobacco, does that not weigh into the value of the smoke, even if the construction's a little off?
Well, it does, but if I'm going to compare it to a Padron at the same price, or isn't the H. Upman 150th from A.J. Fernandez, isn't that right about the $13
That's the same
mark?
price. What about
Yeah,
the
Hemingway
Hemingway series,
that's
the
one of
Fuentes?
one of the best cigars I've ever smoked. So it's hard to put it on the same level as that. Although I will admit, that's why I say I give it a thumbs up for the experience, because the flavors really were terrific.
Gurkha,
that aged tobacco was really working.
But Gurkha has never had an issue with the flavor of their cigars. They're always generally light to medium. I mean, that's really it. Even back in the day when they had the Beast, when that first came out, it was
You're expecting it to be big
and it was only
full.
like medium
Right,
plus. It wasn't even
exactly.
super full, but it was a good cigar. The
Yeah.
flavor profiles on their cigars are never bad, I don't think.
Right.
It's just that, they just the construction issues is the issue.
So
If 5 means you get what you paid for, then a 4.5 is really close to that. And like I said, I'd smoke another one.
maybe it's not as important. Maybe the idea of historical or the age of the tobacco maybe not as big of a weight factor because in spirits it's very common to at least consider what you're getting.
Right.
I think I get what you're saying, because when you have that, you experience a piece of history, and that's
worth
a certain amount as well.
Cordoba and Morales, generally pretty okay cigars, nothing super mind-blowing. But they got their hands on a pallet of unrolled, pre-embargo Cuban tobacco. And the stick was about $25 to $27. Alan Denny can correct me in the comments because I bought them all from him. But you're talking about not... pre-embargo gets thrown around a lot when it's got like one leaf of pre-embargo tobacco in it or something.
Yeah.
No, the entire inside of the cigar, the only thing that wasn't Cuban, legit pre-embargo Cuban from the 70s, was the wrapper.
Okay.
And the wrapper was very, very thin, very, very delicate, and often would split, and it would be a bit difficult. But the smoking experience was fine. The draw was great. Everything was good. Just make sure, before you light it, that when you're handling it, you don't tear the wrapper because the wrapper's so thin. But that was the only part of it that wasn't pre-embargo Cuban. So for me, that $27 experience was in part by the fact that it's literally 60-year-old tobacco.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe it
and
doesn't...
real pre-embargo Cuban. So,
Yeah.
all right, 4.75 for the Gurkha. and we'll take a break and be right back. Okay, we haven't even gotten into this yet, but Chris is gonna do a little hard pour, soft pour experiment with us coming up in the next segment. This is something that's been on his mind for a very long time, and so we're gonna try to call it like it is
So
today.
defensive about it.
Yeah, he is, but that's okay. This is the show where you come to work out things like that. It's part therapy, part cigars, part spirits, part beer. It's smoking and toasting.
The Jerry Springer of the spirits world.
I'm doing that. I want you to know I'm doing this for you so I can take this seriously.
There's no way I can talk you out of it.
Is it bothering you?
Yes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Smoking and Toasting, show number 222. We will maybe talk single malt and rye with a whiskey expert, but we're definitely going to talk hard pours and beer. We are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com, available on the web with great gifts, great T-shirts for cigar lovers, and it's almost T-shirt time, at least in some... I mean, in Texas, we basically had winter last week.
I've got shorts and a T-shirt on.
I just can't keep looking at you like that. It just is.
I'm trying to make sure that I do
You
this.
do look like
so
a villain in a
ridiculous.
video game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make sure that I take this seriously with the hard pour, so I'm not looking at what's going on
So
in the glass.
just look him in the eyes like you do, when you guys have had too many.
Yeah. Kind of like that.
Romantically, yeah. Just don't look into your cup.
Kind of like that. So mycigarshirts.com because
Cigars.
Yes. All right. So this segment is about something that Chris Hart has been talking about, at least when we've been together having cigars, drinking beers, for at least several years.
the first time I remember the first time he brought this up.
Okay.
He brought this up when we were at Stogie's.
Okay.
One time I think we were doing a show there.
I think we were, yes.
And he was on, and he brought up the whole hard pour question.
Right. And
I don't even think I saw him do it.
so
Well,
the
he brought
question
it up.
comes because you like to pour your beers pretty aggressively, and you've received some flack for this, correct?
Yeah, I like to pour aggressively, and I've definitely received flack for this. There's a lot of things. We as humans love tradition. We love ceremony. It's a big part of any hobby.
Sure, and with craft beer, there's tons of it. Drinking out of the right glass, drinking at the right temperature, all of these things are
Happens
big
in
deals.
wine, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even, probably even more so in the wine.
No one
world.
that drinks wine is snobby. What are you talking about?
Not at all. Not at all.
It happens in all the hobbies. So I would say that you guys consider yourself really into craft beer, right? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, with the average consumer who says, "Oh, I like beer," is a 2. What would you consider you guys as?
I really, really like barley wines.
Yeah. Well, I would.
Where does that put me on a
I would say
scale?
we're 9s or 10s, right? Just based on how much
I
we
like
like
to think
it.
I'm a 10, at
Yeah,
least a 9.
Just based on how much we like it. It's not based on how much we know.
And
Just based on how much we like it, right?
I know how the process of carbonating beer into cans is, and it's a pretty broad thing. And most people, you pour a beer, even if you pour it correctly, you're going to sit with it for a few minutes and drink, and the whole time it's losing carbonation.
Right.
I am firmly in the camp that most people aren't going to be able to tell a difference when you hard pour.
Well, I will say this. I'm a fan of IPAs, and one of the easiest ways for a brewery to make me not really enjoy their IPA, because I love all kinds of them, from the juicy ones to the very hoppy ones to, but if it has too much carbonation,
Yeah.
it
Too much
ruins,
carb can wreck
it
a beer,
ruins
yeah.
the IPA for me, more so than almost any other style. So, yeah, carbonation can be a big thing. But, Chris, you've told us before that you feel like when you do the hard pour, that it actually releases more flavor as the beer. Am I quoting you correctly here or no?
I don't
Correct
remember
me.
saying that.
That was my impression.
assertion's more of being uncomfortable. Like I've already, since we've sat down, I've already burped a few times, and I in my mind I'm thinking if I release more carbonation, maybe it'll alleviate some of the.
So it helps keep it from building up as much
Pressure.
inside your
That's
body.
it,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
It still
so
tastes great. I'm still enjoying
So
it.
when people criticize you for the hard pour, what is their main thing that they're saying you're doing wrong, other than the way you do it? Why is it wrong?
That you're basically flattening the beer, that the brewers who brewed the beer expect it to taste a certain way. They do it for that. They carbonate it to a certain level to give you the best experience of what they're trying to produce. And that, yeah, I get all that. I am willing to bet even brewers are not going to be able to tell. There's a lot of indoctrination that happens in the hobby, and I think we can. We're going to prove it right now. So you've got 3 glasses in front of you.
Okay, yes. 2 together and 1 to the side.
I am so not looking at them.
Yep, they've all got a mark on it. I know what the mark is. You guys do not know what the mark is. Is the one that is either there's 1 carbonated and 2 uncarbonated, or there's 2. I'm sorry. Either
1
there's
hard pour, 1 non-hard pour.
Yeah,
right?
you got me. Yeah.
All right. So, but it's the same beer.
So you
correct?
got 2 of the same.
No. It's all 3 of the same beers, but 2 of them is the same. 1 of them is not.
Okay, gotcha.
But you don't know if it's 2 hard pours.
So we're trying to pick out which
one's which, right?
ones are which.
All right. Ian, let's start. Okay.
Hard pour.
Did we both start with the same one? I don't know.
Not hard pour.
All right. I'll tell you what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that the first one is hard pour. The second one, the first one, which is on my left.
Let me see
one.
what. Okay, that's your first. That's what you're saying is
I'm saying it's a hard pour.
Hard pour, non-hard pour.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm saying the second one is not a hard pour.
Okay.
The second one I tried.
Real quick, Ian's wrong on all counts.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So the first 2 are regular pours. I poured them carefully, tilted the glass, made sure it had the decent, like the reasonable amount of head, which is just on the, perfectly. This one I hard poured the fuck out of, which is your O.
Okay.
And not only did I hard poured it twice. I poured it into 1 glass with the head, and then I poured that into a new glass so the foam would stay behind.
So I did think that was a hard pour.
Correct.
But I
You did call
I
it.
also thought the first one was a hard pour, and it was not.
Correct. You're right.
All right. So I was right for 1. Well,
And wrong for 2.
wrong for 2.
Yeah.
I
And you
was
were
wrong
for
on
3.
all 3, which
Yeah.
means I was at least consistent.
Actually, right, because the first 2 were both hard pours. No, we're both not hard pours, and the third one was. So what's interesting here is that it would seem like, and by the way, it's not very good beer, whatever it is.
No, it's not. It's terrible.
It's Montague Cold Snap.
It's terrible.
Well,
You're
no
not
wonder.
a fan, huh?
No wonder. Yeah, no.
That's why I brought different styles, too.
Okay, all right. That'll be interesting to try. But I will say that there's definitely,
So I did taste a difference at least.
yeah.
So Jason
To me,
Allison...
it was more about carbonation than taste.
Jason Allison points out, wait, the hard pour happened 10 minutes ago. Shouldn't you have to drink it within a minute or 2 of pouring? That's the problem with hard pours. It's all head, but once the head is gone, who cares? So here's the thing. It only takes a couple minutes to settle from a heavy head anyways.
Right.
Right? And secondly, all people usually drink a beer not within the first 2 minutes unless they're chugging, right? You're going to sit with it for 10 minutes. You're going to watch your show.
You haven't met Ian's friend Mark.
Okay, yeah. I've seen him shotgun beer on the show, yeah.
But no, I know what you're saying. And now, by the way, and part of this might be informed by the fact that I know, but I'll tell you, this hard pour beer is much flatter to my senses.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see in round 2 and 3.
I think I basically just tasted a difference, but didn't register, obviously, which one was the hard pour correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see in rounds 2 or 3.
All right.
I'm not getting a whole lot of extra carbonation, but I'm not getting a whole lot of extra flavor, I'm sorry, but I do detect a difference in the carbonation. So, fascinating. By the way, I neglected to do this. We will be doing drinking news today. And in the first segment, I always like to do the little teaser headline for drinking news because it doesn't come up till later in the show. So today's drinking news teaser headline is Blue Balls, Not Blue Angels. So I don't know if that inspires any kind of a musical refrain, but
Cheers, y'all.
I got to say, this is just not very good beer.
It's not good beer at all.
It really isn't.
not.
I'm finding
At least a
myself.
soapy taste in my mouth.
I brought a Doppelbock. You know,
Yeah,
we can do a German beer. I
Ian,
brought a
maybe
hazy.
maybe we can taste the.
Brought your hazy IPAs.
Why don't we taste this grapefruit sweet and sour that I brought from Untitled Art, just to
All right,
watch
let's
this.
do it.
Just to let me grab it out of the bag, just to watch this taste out of our mouth here.
Now, I think the last time we were on the show, you asked me if I liked that, and I told you I hadn't tried it, and I went and tried it, and I did not like it.
Montague Cold
not
Snap.
good.
Yeah,
I think we actually had it on the show one week. That can's a little banged up.
I see.
But I got to tell you, Untitled Art, these guys have really put out some fantastic beers in a number of styles. But they have a lot of
I don't
IPAs.
know exactly. I'm going to do it this way because
Yeah,
if I try to open it in my lap,
it may be a little tough.
Yeah, for Jason in the comments, even if you take 15 minutes to drink a beer, the first sip happens in the first 30 seconds of pouring, which means a hard pour gives you a ton of foam up front. Yet the argument about it being too much foam isn't usually the argument. The argument's usually like you're ruining the beer. That being said, it really takes like literally 2 minutes for the foam to settle. Just like if you were to do a decent pour, a proper pour usually counts for about a half inch to an inch of head. So if you were to have 3 inches of head, it takes just a few seconds longer for it to calm down.
So I didn't ask you this. Can you taste a difference flavor-wise?
No, I don't think anyone can.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my argument. My argument is that the in most cases you're not going to even notice. So why be hoity-toity about it?
Okay, got it.
Same thing with glasses. Like all of us is like, oh, these proper glasses are the right way to pour. No,
Right.
listen, we've all been camping,
I've
we've all
had-
been hunting, and
I've had-
we've all drank out of.
Yeah, I've
Red
had
Dixie
great
cups.
stouts in Dixie cups. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. So I wanted to say hi to a new listener, Rob Clark, who says in the comments, saw you guys on Chris's show, went and subscribed to your podcast, learning a bunch. Great show.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chris, for helping us out here.
Rob's a really good guy. He actually has his own podcast called Bourbon Rye Not.
Bourbon Rye Not. I will check that out. I love it.
Great guy.
Ian, I think we need one more. Did you miss one?
Oh, sorry. What are we doing here?
I've got to pass
not
one over
scooching them
to
My
down.
apologies.
passing one over to Adam.
It's all that
I
extra
failed.
foam in my head.
I failed to give directions.
So let me just say that this is a
Smells
beer.
like weed.
This is a beer that I found this on the shelf at Specs. Untitled Art is one of my favorite brewery discoveries over the last year. I would put them on a plane with Parish, which is one of my favorites, Nola, which is one of my favorites.
That is polarizing.
Oh, polarizing. Okay, so
Try to taste it?
it's a sweet and sour grapefruit
Wow.
IPA. So it's a totally different thing.
Yeah, purists are going to hate that.
Ian, I don't think you liked it, did you? Judging from your expression.
I'm trying to decide. It's
It's a smoothie. It's a fucking glass
man,
of
it
grape
is
juice.
it is some sour grapefruit, that's for sure, and it's super sweet right up front.
Yeah, it calls itself a sweet and sour grapefruit IPA.
I mean, it's okay. I wouldn't have a whole can, that's for sure.
I don't think I could drink a whole can of it.
And I think that's a problem for beer. If you can't even drink a whole can.
I love that. Yeah, I'm going to go with you guys here. I love that we're tasting it. I love that I got a chance to see what it's like.
Put that in. Put some vodka in that and make yourself a cocktail.
Dude, you're not kidding.
Oh, yeah.
A little vodka in this,
Little
you'd
vodka,
be
it'd be-
all set up.
it'd be a
like
great
So this
cocktail.
is India Pale Ale with grapefruit juice, apple juice, and pineapple juice.
Yeah, it's mostly those things.
Yeah,
But it's also 7%.
right.
Come on,
Right.
bullshit.
Well,
I think you got another. What was that brewery that took their ABV measurements before they added the fruit puree and it dropped it to like 2%?
I don't know. I think this is very
It's-
interesting. But yeah, I don't know if I would drink a whole can of it. But I'm thrilled to taste it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, this is probably the only thing from Untitled Art that I've had that I've gone, wow, that's just way too much for me.
So let me ask you this: Are we happy that a brewery like Untitled Art, or any other for that matter, would be this experimental?
If we're all just hanging out and I said, hey guys, I got this beer to try and poured everybody a cup, I would love the conversation and stuff happening. And I think that's one of the things one of these beers like this are great for.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes. I'm happy that this exists, and I'll tell you why. Ingenious here in Houston.
Oh, they're wonderful.
they're
Yeah.
They're
amazing.
so
but
experimental.
not everything they make is good. Some of it's objectively bad, but that's the thing is.
But it's all interesting.
It's all
Well,
interesting,
that's-
and it's all finding what you.
That's like when we had Lone Pint on the show. Remember, he brought us something to try, and it wasn't,
It wasn't
that
good.
great.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, we didn't think this one was good." I was like, "Wow!" I was amazed that he brought that on. I don't know. I think it was a test for us to see if we go, "Oh, it's great! It's the greatest thing I ever had." Because some people accuse us of liking everything.
of everything, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Including me,
But Adam, I just want to make sure. Do you feel the same way about this that we do? Yeah. Yeah. All right. So.
I mean, I bet it would make a killer screwdriver. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to try that at some point. So, all right. I tell you what, we're going to take a break. When we come back, got new cigars for you to watch for. Plus, in the beer category, the Brewers Association has recognized some new styles of craft beer. So we'll share with you what those are. And I think maybe Chris will hard pour something else just so we can see if we can tell the difference between the hard and the soft pour on what you mentioned you had some
We can.
I
I
love
brought
Celebrator.
every style. So I brought some Feliz Navidad from Eighth Wonder. I brought some La Fin du Monde, which I'm a big fan of their Abbey ales. And then I brought
Badass song too.
Some
some heavy hands. Nice from Spindletap.
about a little bit of everything. German Bach, double Bach.
All right, so you decide
I
where
like
we're
the
going
Celebrator
next.
because it comes with a dongle.
Yes, it comes with something.
Who doesn't
you can,
love a good dongle?
Yeah, that's right. We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, the show that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com, available on the web, mycigarshirts.com, because...
Cigars.
Yes, thank you. So, Chris Hart is here. He is looking to perform a little science for us today. And anytime there's science that involves drinking, I'm generally down for it. But we're moving up in the beer selection from Montague Cold Snack in the last experiment to this one is what again, Chris? Which beer is this?
Oh, this is the Celebrator Doppelbock.
The Doppelbock. Okay,
I
very
love
nice.
this beer.
Yeah, this is you're a fan of a lot of these sort of European old world beers, aren't you? Yeah.
I do like a lot of those styles, but this one also comes with a dongle, which makes me very happy.
We mentioned in the last segment that a dongle is a wonderful thing.
A
So-
dongle is
a
a
good
thing.
dongle.
So, all right. So, Chris's assertion here is that regardless of whether there was a hard pour or not a hard pour, that we shouldn't really be able to tell any difference in flavor. So, we're trying to just figure out which one is even which.
Yeah,
So,
I just don't think it's that big of a deal, is really what I'm arguing here. I think most people aren't going to tell. It's not going to really vary. Even if you guys were to guess 50-50 on all of these beers, like your running record is 5 right, 5 wrong.
right.
That means that most of the time you're not even going to notice, right? It's really, you're only focused in now on what matters. And I don't think it matters.
All right. I'm going to say that
Ooh, smoky.
I'm going to say that just like the last time, the first two are not hard pours, and the third one is. Now, I don't know which one's which. You can look at that.
Yeah.
That's the first one.
Okay.
That is the second one.
Okay.
And there is my third.
Okay.
So,
And I
Ian,
say
what do you think?
hard pour, regular pour.
So you're going the exact opposite of what I said, because
Yes.
I said first two regular pour, last one hard pour.
So just so we're on the same page, which ones do you think is not the hard pour? Show me on the cup.
I think that
These two
are not the hard pour.
Are not the hard pour.
Yeah.
And
this
that
one
one
is.
Okay.
Yes.
So
So that one's got the X on the bottom.
yeah. So X and triangle. Wait, what did you say?
I said hard pour, not hard pour.
Okay.
So I said triangle and circle are
Okay.
are not.
All I did was swap it this time. So I did 2 hard pour glasses and 1 non-hard pour, to keep it even.
Mm-hmm.
And your circles are the only ones that are not hard pour, and both of y'all missed that.
So the one that I
So-
thought was no.
So your X and your triangle are hard pours.
I have a theory.
So I got that right, because I said the first two were not, and this one was, and the X was. So I missed on one of the three.
Right. Well, yeah. All of y'all missed on one of the 3 because
Okay.
2 of them, the 2 that you guessed 2 were hard pour and you guessed 2 were not hard pour. 1 and 1 were correct. Mm-hmm. And then the other one you guessed was the hard pour, and the one that you guessed was not the hard pour was incorrect. So 1 out of 3.
See, again, I'm consistent. I'm wrong.
All right. Well,
Does that make sense?
no, I'm following you, but I think this is all pointing back to your original theory, which is that you can't really tell the difference,
Correct. Yeah. So
and
it's,
that people who do are being a little too snooty about it, right?
I think even brewers, I want to test this out with some cicerones and some people who have got their certifications and think they're hot shit. Because my whole point is leave me alone. Let me drink my beer how I want to drink it. And to answer Jason's question, the reason why I hard pour is any amount of gastrointestinal relief. I don't have to, my wife makes fun of me because we'll be watching a movie and I have to lean forward just to burp, right? And
I thought you were going to say you had to lean forward for another reason.
No.
There's that as well, by the way.
No, I don't have to lean forward for that. But the trapped gastrointestinal thing, so I prefer to pour hard. That's what I do with wine. You're supposed to pour hard with wine and get it aerated. Mm-hmm. I just don't think. I think we need to. It's 2021. We need to do everything we can to dispel cunty behavior.
Okay, that's fair enough. All right, I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. All right, so let's take a break. We'll exhibit none of that behavior during the break, but we will be back to talk whiskey. We're going to do a little Angel's Envy in this next segment. And are these, what are these?
These are two. There's a big argument about terroir. This is single malt Irish whiskey, not your standard Irish whiskey. This is single malt Irish whiskey. This is a step above your typical Irish whiskey, and they sent me some organic stuff. These guys do everything from grain to glass. They even put who grew the barley on the back of the bottle, which farm it came from, who the grower was. I mean, they literally give you as much information, so much information that
which U2 song they were listening to when they distilled it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I tell you what, let's do. Let's go there next. We'll hang on to the Angel's Envy for the following segment because I suspect we might want to taste these side by side.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So a little Irish whiskey, plus we'll talk American single malt coming up next. It's Smoking and Toasting.
Not to be inflammatory, but am I the only one that thinks YouTube's pretty boring?
Welcome back.
In the beginning.
It's Smoking and Toasting, and we are on show number 222. We are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com, available on the web because cigars. By the way, we're going to be trying some very, very crafty Irish whiskey, some Irish single malt. But I wanted to mention to you that there's an interesting promotion going on this year. Jameson's Irish whiskey is paying fans $50 to take off of work on St. Patrick's Day. I mean, we could all use something to celebrate, so Jameson's decided they'd incentivize St. Patrick's Day. So they're offering fans a chance to win cash for taking the holiday off. They said last year, for the first time in more than 250 years, many St. Patrick's Day celebrations were called off across the country, and here we are again. This is from a news release.
Jameson's is doing this wrong.
Oh, yeah? And why is that?
Because you don't need to take St. Patrick's Day off.
You need to take the day after.
You need to take the day after St. Patrick's Day off.
I love it.
That's how that works.
Don't mix those up.
I think you have made a great. These are both.
Both Adams.
Got it. Oh, these are both Adams.
Both Adams. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
then that one goes to the other side of that. Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
this way.
Yeah. So just like that.
Okay. Gotcha.
Don't mix them up, Adam.
So basically, in the spirit of St. Patty's, Jameson is encouraging people to take what they call SPTO, St. Patrick's Time Off, to kick back and celebrate on the 17th, raising a glass with friends, either virtually or masked up with a 6-foot social distance. To sweeten the deal, adults in the United States, ages 21 and up, are invited to enter the limited time sweepstakes for a chance to win $50 to make your, to help you, compensate
Offset.
for not being off,
Yeah,
for not working. Yeah,
time off.
Sweepstakes ends at midnight on March 7th, and there also is included. They're going to award this prize money to 1,000 different people, and then they're going to do an additional $50 on behalf of each winner that will be given to the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation. So that's also complementing a $150,000 donation made by Jameson. So the biggest part of this is they're helping out restaurant workers, which is actually really cool.
But you got to take the day after off. That's the whole thing.
Well, if you can, yes.
So Chris has been taunting me with his hard pours over here, but
Yeah.
what he doesn't realize
his
is
face every time.
my second look back there for a sec, because I'm looking just out of peripheral.
Yeah.
Because he looks at me every time he hard pours.
Yeah.
My second look back was I thought he hard poured his IPA and then he poured some Kentucky Cold Snack in there. That's what I was like. Did he? Oh, okay.
Okay. Well
I mean, you could do that. It's your beer.
What a way to ruin a great IPA, or even a bad IPA. Make it worse. So, Chris, tell us again about this Irish single malt.
Yeah, so they actually they sponsor my show, but I'm not here based off that. They didn't pay me to come do your show. But it's an Irish whiskey company called Waterford. They're one of my favorite distilleries on Islay in Scotland is called Bruichladdich. Bruichladdich was revived in the early 2000s and then sold to, I believe, Remy Cointreau. But the guy behind bringing Bruichladdich to life went and started making Irish whiskey. And this is where we are here with this. So Waterford Irish single farm origin whiskey. They literally do a single malt Irish whiskey, like based on harvest, based on individual farms in different parts of Ireland. These are both from County Kilkenny. This one, they actually put who the grower was for the barley, and there's so much information about each individual bottle that they can't fit it all in the bottle or the box, so they put a terroir code on the back, and you can go to glassrev.com/Waterford and kind of put that code in, and it'll literally tell you everything you could possibly want to know about it. So if it's all made on the same equipment in the same exact way by the same distiller, but the barley comes from different areas, then it kind of proves the concept of terroir.
Okay.
Yes. And they're trying to stay off of Wade Woodard's radar.
Shit list, yeah. So this is their Irish whiskey. It's doing really well. I mean, listen, it's
Can you aside from the fact that it's made in Ireland, can you say what the difference is between Irish whiskey and other whiskeys?
Yeah, so
Is there a difference from a style standpoint?
Sure. Well, each place has its own rules and laws. Scotland, you can only do single malt in pot still. Redbreast is one of the greatest Irish whiskeys. Is all pot still Irish whiskey. It's really not for two places in particular are going through a bit of a resurgence. Canada and Ireland, because for years, you mentioned Jameson. I'm not trying to shit on it. Jameson is like Jack Daniels. It's like a classic mainstay of Irish whiskey. But Canada,
that was what people thought of when they thought of Irish whiskey.
But that's what people thought of when they thought of Irish whiskey. It's all 80 proof. It's all cut watered down, you know. And so Ireland is going through a resurgence. Like, hey, no, we make really good whiskey.
Yeah.
Redbreast and Red Spot. You know,
Red Spot's terrific.
great. Yeah.
I just picked up a bottle of Blue Spot on the way here when I stopped to pick up beer. There's a lot of great Irish distillers out there making great whiskey. Slane is a good one.
Love Slane. It's just so amazing.
And the price point is fantastic.
The price point
Slane,
is great. I wish they'd go up a little bit in proof, but you know, for an Irish whiskey, it's definitely outside the realm of your standard boring category that's been kind of beat to death. And so Waterford is really going out of their way to create literally no holds barred. No, how do you say it? No holds barred. It's all that beer. It's all that foam.
Don't say no holes barred. That's a movie. You don't want to watch that.
That's a different movie.
That's awkward.
They pulled out all the stops and just really have gone through great care to kind of showcase that it can taste different, even though it's made the exact same way.
Right.
From different places.
So what's the difference between these two bottles?
Location, right?
Okay.
So
it's
this is
all terroir, right?
Yeah, this is single farm origin. This is called Rathclaw.
Is
Edition,
that the first one I have here?
Edition 1.1. This is the one on your left.
Okay.
The one on the
And then
left.
I love this.
This one's Dunbell.
All right. It's going to be interesting to me to see what
You can
differences
very much smell the
You
difference.
can.
I'm willing to bet
the
that's
nose.
Rathclaw or Rathclaw. GH usually makes it's a
Ugh.
yeah cloch.
Ugh.
Yeah, they're
Well,
both
this is super interesting.
they're both from County Kilkenny. They're both just Irish barley, water, yeast, no color,
I love
The
this.
retrohale on this is wonderful.
no chill filtration. They left all the natural oils in the liquid itself. I mean, they really are just giving you a raw product at 100 proof
and
too.
it just lingers in a crazy, awesome way.
Yes, it does. Is this something that's available
Yeah, you can get it
commercially
now.
in the United States?
Yeah, it's available in Texas too. They're all over the place. You can. I know that last time I talked to Bill, I think they were on back order at some point. But yeah, you can get it at Specs. You know, they really it's if you're really going to, it's the difference between buying your lower end truck with the leather seats, and then the higher end truck with the hand stitched leather seats, right? Like they really just they put in the extra effort in every turn.
So
That
what
is
would one of these
delicious.
retail for?
I'm gonna say in the $80 price range,
Okay.
somewhere around there.
Okay. What do you, now? Have you tried the second one? Ian?
I haven't tried the second one yet, but that first one is outrageously
Yes,
good.
it really is good.
Yeah, I mean with St.
there's-
Patty's Day coming, man, I can't talk today. Me and me both, man.
happens when
Words fail
you're on the show.
can't.
So are you on?
Is that why the
must-
slogan
Are
for
you
the
on the
drink.
second? Yeah,
It's just cigars.
yeah. Cigars.
That's why.
Because
That's why
cigars.
it's the only word I say. Cigars.
Okay,
I need to.
they are very different. I'm surprised.
My
actually.
only palate cleanser is a celebrator.
It's a beer. Yeah.
At least it's not a Montague cold snack. So
That's not a palate
Those
cleanser.
celebrators, man, they're smoky.
yeah, they
Real
are.
smoky.
Yeah,
They're
they
so
are.
good.
So, what's your take on 1 versus 2, Ian? The first one again is the Rathclaw.
Yeah, and then the
The second
Dunbell.
one is Dunbell.
And they broke it down by edition. So this is edition 1.1 for the Rathclaw, and this is edition 1.1 for the Dunbell, which means you'll get the next harvest, right?
Okay.
If they use the same farm, and again, you're getting a different harvest altogether.
So let me ask you this question: as an aficionado of whiskey,
Okay.
let's say you are in love with the Rathclaw, that you
Sure.
think it's
I
fantastic.
think I'm in love with the Rathclaw.
Let's say you're reacting the way Ian's reacting to it, right? This is terrific. How do you feel about the next harvest and the next distillation being slightly different? Do you think that's a good thing? Or do you go, wow, I wish they would just make me more of this?
I mean, it depends on what you want. I think that for most nerds in the whiskey hobby, the one-offs are the most fun of the hobby. This is why barrel picks are so popular, store picks are so popular. This is why Ingenious is so popular.
Right.
Because there is no main SKU. There's no one product available year-round no matter what. It's literally different every time. And so you end up going to buy, instead of one bottle, if it's available year-round, I'll just buy it one at a time.
Right.
But if it's a one-off, I may buy 3 or 4 bottles, try to make it last.
And make it last, yeah. Or you might buy a bottle, try it, and then go back and get several more.
Yeah,
if it's
yeah, absolutely.
But it
something you really
also, the fact that it's going to be different from bottle to bottle is very fun for me. Like I seek that out because I love those little differences.
Right.
And if they go, okay, we're going to do this on the next harvest, and we're going to basically make it the same way, but of course it's a new harvest, so there's going to be some differences. I kind of celebrate those differences. I love this, by the way. This is quite good, but this right here,
Yeah, I would say I like the
hits my
Rathclaw
sweet
better.
spot.
I like it better, but not by much. They're both really terrific. And I'll say that when it comes to beer, at least, I kind of love having it both ways. Like I love that when I want a Ghost in the Machine from Parish Brewing,
When you want
I can
frozen
find it. Right. When I
and
want a
slushy
frozen one,
style.
I go to Chris's house. But no,
God
when I
damn it.
when I want one of those, I know I can find it, and I know it's going to be just as good as the last time I got it. But I also love trying the new ones and going through, and some of them I like better than others. But it doesn't really matter. Like it's so I love having it both ways, and I guess it's certainly possible to do that in the whiskey world as well. There's things that you know can be go-tos that are going to be consistently good, and then there's things that you can try that are more limited.
These two are so interesting. This one is just robust and round and sweet on the front, and this one's a little more mineral and cleaner on the finish, although
Yes.
funkier up front in a little way.
I'm looking up the pronunciation just to be sure.
I've been going with Rathclaw.
Yeah, so on the back, it does spell it at the top. So the strategic importance of Rath, and it spells it CH, which means stone fort. And traditionally, I know in Scotland, in Gaelic, a CH makes a K sound. This is why Glenfiddich is not Glenfiddich.
It's Glenfiddich. Yeah, right.
But on the actual spelling of the place, it's GH, and I'm assuming it's probably the same sound. So it might be
That's the
Rathclaw. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, let me run through
Sure.
some distilleries from an article from Yahoo Life, and we all know if we're looking for up-to-date and accurate information, we all go to Yahoo, right? So that's
Or Google.
Well, I was making a Yahoo joke. We all go to Google. But in any case, this is from Yahoo, and this was written in November of last year.
Okay.
And they are selecting here 10 distilleries that they say are making the best American single malt whiskey.
Okay.
And I want you to.
Oh, you see him get all.
and see, this is why I love having him on the show, because I love having him chime in on these things.
I saw the intake of preparation
It's
there.
American single malt.
Okay.
So, not to be confused with the other.
Do you want some ice and a straw for that?
No, but I definitely poured the rest of it because I'm going to need it for this question.
So, this is based on not the distillery as a whole, but just on their single malt distillate.
Okay.
The first of the 10 that they mention, and these are not in order other than I think maybe alphabetical. The first that they mention is right up the street in Waco, Texas, Balcones.
Yeah, so I knew that they were going to be on the list, and I was already preparing to disclose that they're also a sponsor of my show.
Okay.
But they have never once asked me not to be honest, and I've been honest about some things, about certain expressions. But none of that honesty, negativity has been about their single malt. Their single malt is great.
Right. So the Balcones 1 Texas single malt is kind of their flagship, isn't it?
Yeah, I've done something like 7 single barrel selections that have been their single malt. We're releasing 2 this weekend. One that was put into a honey barrel, one that was put into a port wine barrel. Their single malts, I mean, yes.
And their latest single malt release, other than what you're talking about, is called Lineage. It's made from a mash bill of Texas and Scottish-grown barley that's aged in both refill and new American oak barrels. So, how do you feel about Stranahan's? That's the next one on the list. Silence speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Stranahan's is okay. I was not blown away by it.
Stranahan's is come a long way.
That's Colorado, isn't it?
Colorado.
Yes, Rocky Mountain single malt. Since,
they've come a long way. They've come a long way. They did one. I always forget if it's called Snow Phoenix or Snowflake, one of the two. That is truly exceptional. But overall,
their new addition to the lineup is called Blue Peak.
Yeah. No, they've come a long way. Okay. I wouldn't put them on the top 5 of American single malt. No.
But maybe they could make the top 10?
It's tough. Maybe.
Okay.
Pretty close.
How about McCarthy's Oregon single malt
definitely
whiskey?
not. That whiskey is garbage.
Okay, see, this is what I love about Chris. See, he will not.
I've never tried that.
He will not beat around the bush. He'll tell you.
So
what
they
he thinks.
sent me some, and they're sponsors of the Whiskey Social. Maybe not anymore.
They're former sponsors of the Whiskey Social.
You
don't have to worry, Chris.
As long as our 6 listeners don't tell them.
Yeah, nobody listens to this show anyway. So
their packaging is good. The single malt was not good. I had a couple pours and gave the bottle away.
Interesting. All right. How about
Did you give it away to someone you liked or someone you didn't like?
Well, what are your thoughts on in-laws?
Did you give it to Alan Denny? What about Westland?
Oh, well, Westland's up there in top 3.
Another
right?
Pacific Northwest distillery that's focused on making
that either.
American single malt, and they. I tell you what, they're raving about it in this Yahoo article.
Yeah, they're pretty interesting. So Westland.
Wait, I thought we were joking about Yahoo. Does this still exist?
Believe it. That's why I said. That's why I was joking about Yahoo. Is that when you want up to date information,
okay,
you go to Yahoo.
Right? I just caught on to that. Sorry, I've been somewhere else apparently.
It's kind of like I go to Yahoo for my search engine, and I use my dial-up modem. It's kind of the
my AOL address. Yeah,
exactly.
My AOL.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Westland, good.
Westland, based out of Seattle. I've been to the distillery. They are arguably the king of American single malt, in my opinion.
Wow. That's high praise.
They're number 1, consistent, beautiful, fun. They do an April Fool's release every year where they submit a COLA approval. So what happens is when you want to create a whiskey and you want to sell it in the U.S., you have to first submit it to the federal government. Mm-hmm. Once they approve it, they publicly release that it's been approved. And so a lot of smart people will go to that website and see what's about to come out.
Yeah.
So it's like.
So then they know to go and grab it if it's something that's going to be very limited.
Because often you'll find out from that website before that distillery even announces it's coming. So it's inside information, right? Mm-hmm. They do an April Fool's release every year, but they'll actually make it and sell it at the distillery as a joke. And it's crazy stuff, really, really bizarre stuff. But
is it good?
No. Their April Fool stuff is all arguably nonsense.
Okay.
But they do a sherry single malt. They do the Gariana. They do a peated one. Their Westland is consistently fantastic American single malt. You cannot go wrong with Westland.
All right. So that's Westland.
Yep.
What about Westward?
Westward's good. Westward's coming. They're fairly new. I want to say the last
They're from
four,
Portland, right?
Yeah, I'd say the last 4 years.
Haven't
give or
tried that
take.
either.
There's a lot of new things to try here, Ian. For
Yeah,
sure.
they're good. Westward's good.
All right, talk to me about Cedar Ridge. from Iowa.
Never heard of it.
Never
Let me
heard
see a
of it, huh?
picture. Is there a picture?
There's a picture of a part of the bottle there. Can you see that?
Yeah, no, never heard of it. Yeah.
All right. So it says they're located in Iowa. They make a few different kinds of whiskey, including. Oh, here you go. This should disqualify them from the list right here, including a collaboration with Slipknot, the band. So, yeah. The quintessential launched last summer was a single malt made from a mash bill of 100% two-row pale malted barley. So yeah.
So two-row is going to have larger grains.
Right.
You know, it's often used in beer. The six-row, two-row discussion. Six-row barley is usually much smaller kernels. Two-row is going to have much larger kernels. So
That's why you can only fit two of them in a row.
This
Yeah.
is why you have the whiskey expert on the show.
So ideally, when you germinate them to get them to sprout, so you can use that to develop, give the yeast some sugars to turn into alcohol. Two-row tends to be a bit more of a fruitful production.
Makes sense. Okay. What about Virginia Distillery Company?
You got a picture?
Courage and Conviction is their flagship American single
Never heard
malt.
of it. Yeah.
Interesting. So Yahoo has unearthed some things that
I would be.
are maybe a little below the radar here.
I'd be looking on that article for words that say sponsored by. So typically these lists are produced. So a little tip out there for people looking to up your Yahoo number, your Yahoo numbers, your YouTube numbers.
Your YouTube numbers, yeah.
Everyone knows in newspaper and in old school production of stories, top 10 lists are a good way to get lots of clicks, right? These are
Sure,
the top.
people love lists. I love them.
These are the top restaurants opening. These are the top single malts opening. A lot of YouTube people will build their base to get their subscriber list up by doing top 10 lists. These are the 11 bourbons that you need in your bar right now.
I watch the Watch Mojo top 10 and top 20 list videos on YouTube all the time.
Yeah,
Because they're always really interesting,
I won't do them.
Yeah.
Only because it feels a bit forced.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks my soul a little bit. Like, our friend Doug.
Yes.
Yeah. Doug was like, hey, man, you should submit a top 10 bourbons for Father's Day list to Culture Map. I was like, I can't do it. I just
Really?
it just feels so forced and faked
Yeah, right.
every time.
See,
But it's a great way to get tons of clicks.
It's a great way to get tons of clicks. Well, I will just say that you have been always, when I've watched and listened to your show, as well as when you're on here, you're always very transparent when there's a sponsorship involved.
I want to be. I don't want. I'm a very, like, how you've been accused of liking everything. Mm-hmm. I'm an easy pleaser with a lot of things. There's a lot of things I'm very open to.
Yeah.
My breadth of flavor profile, like, I really like a lot of funky things. I've been accused of liking things a lot, but I am very quick to drop the hammer.
Yes, you are.
When something needs that hammer drops.
Yeah, no, and you've done it a number of times on this show. It's why it's fun to have you on. I almost feel like in some ways you feel freer to drop that hammer quickly on our show than you do on your own. And I understand that.
I do.
How about St. George Spirits?
So St. George, I will say that they are an icon of American spirit production. They've done a lot of really, really great, fantastic things. But they're a wild card in some regards. They did something called Baller. The release was called Baller. It was done in a very Japanese style. I think it was right at 3 years old.
That was like a Lil Wayne song.
Baller?
Oh,
Yeah.
no, Little Somebody. I don't know. There's too many
Little
Lil.
somebody.
Yeah.
I know who it was. It was Little Idiot.
There's too many Lils.
Something's
I wouldn't want to
16
be
switches in the 16 Impala.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be a Lil. And like, you know what? One of the hottest rappers right now, Da Baby.
Oh, I know.
Who
My wife likes
the
him.
fuck names
All right,
themselves
what
Da
about
Baby,
yeah.
what about Megan the Stallion?
Megan the Stallion is what I call her.
Megan the Stallion.
Isn't the stallion a male horse?
Yes.
Yeah. I can't figure it out.
Stud horse at that, right?
We could be on that for days. Let's do a top 10 list of disturbing rapper names.
I know
and
your
post it on
favorite-
YouTube.
It's probably not best to do that during Black History Month, guys.
Probably not. Probably not. You're right.
Let's go somewhere else. But no, so I just want to be honest when I can, and I want to be honest all the time. I can always be honest, but I tend to be a little bit more colorful with you.
How about few spirits?
Okay, so. Sorry. Let me go back to.
Or is it
sorry.
FEW? I call it few.
Let me go back to Baller real quick. So,
Okay.
Baller's a Japanese-style art label. You know those really beautiful old Japanese art paintings from years ago? They did one of those. It's a very Japanese-style label. It's very cool-looking, but it is the most bizarre single malt you ever put in your mouth. It's objectively not good. And for $125, it's arguably bad. So, St. George has done a lot of great things. I'd put them up there in the top 5. I wouldn't put them in the top 3. And again, it's 50-50 for 4th or 5th.
Yep.
Few has done some good things. I don't like. They did a Flaming Lips thing too. Speaking of band collaborations,
but at least it was with a super cool band.
It's been a while since I've tried their single malts. I can't remember a single malt now that I think about it. But I do remember their gin, and it blew me away. They had a really good gin, and that Flaming Lips thing is not good.
But I haven't tried it.
No.
All I know is that the latest new Flaming Lips song that I discovered while poking around on the streaming services is called "Mother, I've Taken LSD."
Is it good?
It is good, actually.
I like that band.
I really like it.
I'm glad
like
that was your
that
first
band.
question. You're like, but is it good? Before I give my thoughts on the title, just let me know.
No,
if it's good.
I love the Flaming Lips as a band. I just
do.
think
I've seen
they're
them
ridiculous.
live.
They're fun.
I've seen them live a couple of times. When Wayne Coyne turns around and starts smashing that gong, it's like a cathartic moment for the entire audience. It's great. 10th Street Distillery.
Never heard of it. Let me see.
They're from San Jose. And
they're
looking
fairly new.
Yeah, they're looking to change. So could be sponsorship involved. So that's the last of the list.
Yeah, there's 3 on that list that I don't think should be on the list if they're not widely available.
Right.
And they're not widely available. The 3 that I didn't know, they're
Right.
not.
That means you haven't seen them, come across them in your dealings. So.
Yeah. So, and that's not to say that I know everything. But
Anything off the top of your head that's obviously missing? I realize that's a loaded question.
So
American single malt.
For American single malt, I they're not making it very often, and they're not widely available, so I wouldn't put them on the list. But Widmeyer's is a really good single malt. That's
They
arguably there's a big fan following for their single malt.
I love their single barrel, the one with the blue label.
By the way, we've got him coming back on the show.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
When
and
is that?
he's he actually was scheduled, and we had to bump it because he somebody around him exposed him to COVID, so we had to quarantine, and we just haven't rescheduled. But it'll be coming up soon.
Okay.
So he's awesome. So, all right, tell you what, let's take a break. We're going to come back. We got drinking news coming up. We got an Angel's Envy rye to taste here.
Amen.
And if we have time, we might even do one more beer. So it's Smoking and Toasting with our whiskey expert, Kristopher Hart. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. The program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com because...
Cigars.
Yeah, please check them out and support them because they are a sponsor of the show. Now, Ian's about to pop a top here, and... Oh, that was wonderful.
That was beautiful.
So, while Ian's pouring this and we stand by for drinking news... I will just mention that it was a very interesting year last year, and it capped off with a very awesome Christmas. We just had a great Christmas at my house, and one of the things that made it great
Missed the invite.
was that my it was just a family only thing. But while you're on the show,
Missed the invite.
yeah, right. Here on the show, Ian had brought me in a Christmas gift, and I'm pretty sure for his Christmas gift, I think I gave him some kind of little. Plaque and a Smoking and Toasting bottle opener. But Ian went way over the top for my gift, and he gifted me an engraved bottle of Angel's Envy finished rye. And I had never tried this before. And I'll just go ahead and let the cat out of the bag here. It's one of my favorite spirits, ever. I love this. It's now joining, at my house, it has joined the ranks of the Jose Cuervo Reserva de la Familia, where it's only poured for special occasions.
I found myself in Louisville.
Yeah.
And at the Angel's Envy Distillery, chatting with the guy there, and
in fact,
I had the bottle in my hand, and he goes, We can engrave that for
Ah.
for a small bit extra. So I drew out a couple penises on a piece of paper, and he said we can't do that. And then so I finally settled on Merry Christmas, Cruze and Merry.
Yeah, see that
On the bottle.
That worked really well. Although it's so interesting that you bring up what your original plan was, because it's going to tie into our drinking news story, and you didn't even realize it. So yay for that.
Because nothing would have been funnier than to give you
Oh,
an
that
Angel's
would-
Envy body
honestly-
bottle
honestly-
with a penis drawn on it.
Honestly, it would have been absolutely. That'd have been the type of thing you save and show your grandkids, and not when they're really young, but after they get older.
Hilarious.
After they get really old.
But no, so we tried a bunch of the whiskeys there, and I thought, you know what, this one is spicy, interesting, delicious.
Now, Chris, have you had this before?
Yes, this is an old staple for them.
Okay.
And I also thought a large part of this too was that I thought that your wife would like it a lot,
And
because
she does, by the
likes
way.
those interesting baking spices and things like that.
And
just
sort of
has
that
a
maple
ton
and
of, yes.
and woodsy
the
type of
maple
thing.
is in there.
Now, my wife is a fan of rum, and then probably secondarily tequila. Whiskey's definitely a distant third for her.
I mean, like this
But
smells
she
like I want
loves
to pour it
this.
on pancakes.
Oh, absolutely does. She loves this, and this is as good. Now, is this something?
We have to wait to see if he says it's garbage.
Can you actually find this at liquor stores?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
you
something
can.
you have to get at the
I
distillery.
don't think. Yeah,
right?
it's not that rare or anything. It was just fun to be there and say I got the bottle there, and then have it engraved. So that was fun.
It made for a wonderful gift, and I'm just excited to be able to drink a little
I'm
more
super
of it
happy
here
with my
on the show.
little
With your
plaque
bottle opener
and my
and
bottle
the plaque.
opener.
Yeah, I know that's the plaque with the cat that said "hang in there."
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't just give that to anybody. You understand?
Next year, I'm hoping for the tapestry with the dogs playing pool.
Oh yes, that's very good.
Yeah, so
I have a
Angel,
place online I can get that, by the way. So, Angel's Envy.
Angel's Envy, yeah. So this is allocated. It's on allocation. It's not readily available. It's only available in small quantities. You can typically find it, most of the time somewhere in the city's got it.
Right.
It's usually runs, unless it's gone up in price, I'm going to say probably around $80-85.
That's fantastic for something of this quality.
When it first came out, I want to say it was like $75, but I remember it went up, so it's probably closer to 100. Do you remember what you paid for it?
$80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then the engraving, and
Right.
they wouldn't do the penis. I felt bad about that.
That would have been so awesome, by the way.
the fun thing about this is not actually rye.
Oh, interesting. So explain.
Yeah. So it's they bought rye from MGP out of Indiana, 95.5 recipe rye, 95% rye, 5% malted barley, and they threw it in the rum barrels. But interestingly enough, in the U.S., our requirement for rye is for it to be a new barrel. So the moment it went into an old barrel is the moment
technically
that it
ceases to become
ceases
rye.
to become rye. So now, one of the things that the TTB and the federal government allows us to do is it allows us to put a description as to what happened to the liquid on the front of the bottle. So you can say, Angel's Envy rye whiskey finished in rum casks.
Oh, it is called finished rye.
Yeah, so it's just a fun fact. There's nothing wrong with it, but
Right. It just is one of those
it says
regulations
right
about labeling.
right on the front it says rye whiskey finished in Caribbean rum casks.
So would
that,
Wade have a problem with this, or would he be all right with it?
I mean, as long as it's compliant, and it is compliant.
All right.
So that's Wade's whole shtick, is that he wants things to just be honest and follow the rule, because if you don't follow the rule, it can be misleading. And I'll give you another example. There is, I gotta be careful here. I'll just say that there's a brand out there that it's tough. Okay.
Is it a vodka brand?
No. It was a whiskey brand.
I think I actually may know which one you're talking about.
A few of them have done it, but basically, it's a bit misleading to call something a rye whiskey if it's not. If you've done something to it, if you add color to it, if you add flavors to it, you need to put the full description on the bottle so people know what.
So you say rye whiskey with,
yeah,
or that has been
right. And if it doesn't, and it just says rye whiskey, then you're lying to a consumer, right? So especially if it says something like straight on it, right? Straight rye,
Right.
you can't have. Yeah. So anyways, so long story short, it's a delicious thing. A lot of people like it. It's 100 proof. Tastes like Christmas in a glass. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's just fun information to give along with the bottle.
I absolutely love this. What an awesome gift, Ian. I
Maple
had
syrup.
I had a
It is
space.
so maple syrup.
I had a
Pancakes.
space, cleared on my wall in case you had gotten me the hang in there cat poster. But this wound up being even more exciting.
Yep.
Yeah, this is just great stuff. And so you sampled this at the distillery.
I did.
And thought, yeah, that would work. Well, you were right on because my wife loves it too. And again, she does like whiskey, but not nearly as much.
Well, I knew, like I
as
said,
some
like
other
I was,
spirits,
I was
so.
thinking of you guys because I needed to get you something, and I hadn't gotten you anything yet. And I was thinking of you guys when I tasted it. I was like, because it's whiskey enough to be delicious and you like it, but it's also maple syrupy enough to where your wife would be like, "That's really good."
It's a digestif.
There's a lot of
Digestif, yes.
deliciousness going on here. A lot of deliciousness.
So I was thinking of you and Mary, and that's why I put your names on there,
Well, that's awesome.
and also because they wouldn't let me put a
because
penis.
they wouldn't let you put the penis. Speaking of, it's time for drinking news.
It's time for drinking news.
It is indeed.
I'm hoping one of the things you mentioned.
Go ahead.
I'm hoping one of the things you mentioned is something related to the Kardashian family. Have you guys already discussed it?
No, we haven't. What? What?
Jenner's tequila.
Oh no,
Kendall's got
we have not discussed Kendall Jenner's tequila.
and with huge backlash over cultural appropriation. That interesting development in the spirits world.
Why is there a backlash?
Well, she's not Hispanic, and she's naming it after a United States area code. And there's this push in the realm of celebrity spirits, specifically for countries that are developing, that you're pulling away from like who distilled it, right? Like what about that? Like you're appropriating their liquid. And there's a big controversy over covering up where it comes from by giving it a U.S. area code.
Well, okay, so but is it about the name of the person not being Hispanic or Latino, or is it about that area code? Because like George Strait, for example, is involved in Código tequila,
and he's been accused of it as well.
Interesting,
but his is massively successful, and eventually people move on to something else to be mad at.
Yeah,
but I think what people are upset is a whole new. Another celebrity tequila that's really, The Rock went through it whenever he opened his. So, but that dude makes so much money. He'll just plow right through the controversy.
Yeah, he's figured it out. I don't know how he figured it out, but he figured it out.
Do you know how much he charges for an Instagram post?
No.
$1.2 million
for an Instagram post.
Yeah. So if you want the Rock to promote one of your products,
yeah.
Be $1.2 million.
That's an influencer.
That is something else.
I don't know if we can top that with drinking news, but we're going to try.
Drinking news. Drinking news.
What's the gentle approach?
Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Grab a cup while we gather round. Saddle up and drink 'em down. I got a story and I swear it's true. So now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When I asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Ian, thank you for the musical intro. Drinking news, as we have mentioned before on this program, is not necessarily a story always about drinking, but it's always a story that may be most enjoyable to hear when you've actually been drinking. So, a Florida man.
What a coincidence.
Drinking news. Sorry, go ahead.
A Florida man who also happened to be the pilot of an airplane did something interesting recently. I'll cut to the announcement from the cabin. This is your pilot speaking. We're cruising at an altitude of 41,000 feet, and we're just going to be flying in the shape of a penis today. Aviation fans who happen to check Flight Radar 24, a popular aviation site that give users the ability to track the flight paths of planes around the world, may have noticed an odd pattern that a private plane made above Florida. Yep. If you haven't noticed it yet, is that picture up yet, Adam? It takes us a minute sometimes before we can see it. Yeah, there's the flight path.
That's what I wanted to put on your bottle.
See, exactly, and they wouldn't do it. Apparently, Angel's Envy should have gotten in touch with this guy. So, while it's unknown whether this particular pilot was aware that he was drawing a sky penis. He
had to be.
Come on, you had to know.
That guy's like my hero. That's hilarious.
It's just too perfect.
That's tremendous.
So yeah, there you go. That's this week's drinking news. By the way,
Is there a second penis in that photo?
well,
It looks like a second penis in that photo.
It's a side profile and a top profile.
The green one. Yes, you're absolutely right. So
There's no way that's not coordinated, right?
yeah, no, it has to be. By the way, and I don't have a photo of this, but I can show you guys here in the studio. For $122,000, you too can buy an island that's shaped like a penis.
I'm in.
Yeah,
It's nothing.
Ian, maybe you can show that to the to the camera from where you are.
I'll pitch in a couple bucks towards towards Penis Island, as it
Penis
were.
Island. There you go. There's
there it is.
yeah. Imagine that. So yeah, that's kind of
We
drinking
call
news.
it cock and ballsia.
That's kind of drinking news 1B. So take us home, Ian.
Drinking news. Oh, my cable's caught up. Drinking news. That's a G major with a flat 9 on top.
Okay, I understand.
That's what that is.
glad to hear it.
Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Oh man, Erica Beindorf. I always forgive me, Erica, for mispronouncing your middle name there, Beindorf Skolnick. She is the rep. I say rep. She's the. Forgive me, Erica. Again, I would say regional manager for Westland. So
okay.
You speak Westland's name and they come. We gave Westland a big shout out there, Erica.
Very good. Very good. Cheers, y'all. All right, so we're going to take a break. We'll be back for our final segment. Chris, it's always so much fun having you on the show. I have to say.
Thanks, man.
We learn things. We drink things. What else is there to do except maybe smoke things? So next time we have you on, we'll have to be remote somewhere. We're excited about being able to get back out there and do shows.
That would be nice.
Do shows at live locations.
Now that I will be leaving my day job here shortly, I will have more time to catch up to Sir Alan Denny.
So when we come back, I want to ask you about that, and I want to ask you about the latest updates on the Whiskey Social.
Sure.
And what's going on with Houston Bourbon Society and with your gregarious Grump releases. So this guy's always got something going on.
Oh yeah, I actually brought a little.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll do a little tasting in the next segment. It's Smoking and Toast, and we'll be right back with our final segment after this.
Woo! We got time for me to run a restroom?
Do it.
Yeah, quick, because this is our last segment. Welcome back. It is Smokin' and Toastin'. Back for our final segment. We kind of call this the goodbye segment, but I want to get right to some things that Chris brought that actually have been kind of out of my line of sight, but I'm really excited about it. And anyway, thanks for coming back to the show. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com. It's almost T-shirt time, so go over there and check it out. Get outfitted for spring in some cool new snarky T-shirt. Chris, I remember, of course, my first, memories of you and spirits were primarily about whiskey. But I remember when you and I got into a discussion about rum, and then I remember when you brought me a taste of that rum that was the British Royal Navy rum, and how delicious that was. And then shortly after that, you kind of got into the rum business, right?
Yeah, so I just started bottling spirits. I don't care if it's rum or if it's cognac. We're going to be doing some cognac here shortly. We are looking at whiskey, of course. If it spends time in a barrel and it deserves to be in a bottle, I want to do it.
Which is kind of what your show's about. I mean, it's called Whiskey Neat, but you talk about all kinds of
the very
spirits.
first episode was with Doc Sakis, and it was rum.
I love Docs.
Whiskey is neat.
He's an awesome dude. So...
so we released 6 barrels, and I actually came on the show shortly around the time we released it back in September at some point. And we got some new stuff that's coming in, and what you have in front of you is currently a distillery we haven't done yet, and that is 18-year-old Mount Gay Barbados Rum.
Wow.
Cask strength, single barrel, unadulterated.
It smells great.
And yeah, I've got that. That's 18 years old. I also brought some 19-year-old Mount Gay, so just a year older. And then I brought something crazy, which there's not much left of. I hope we can turn that into at least 2 samples.
This has that beautiful chemically rubberiness on the end that I really love.
Oh,
in
yeah.
the rum.
It's that rummy funk.
Yeah.
Or funky rum.
Is there a name
whatever
for that? You
wanna
probably have a better word for it than beautiful chemical
No,
rubberiness.
I call it. Yeah, no, I was going to say something really crass. I'm going to choose not to. I just listen. There's so many beautiful spirits out there. I want to do some Scotch, but Scotch is so crazy right now. But I found a way around the importation. That they raised the tariffs.
Yeah.
I found a way around that.
Oh.
So hopefully, it's my goal this year to bring in some single malt Scotch from Scotland with double digits at the craziest price that you can find. And we're working on that.
Now, your rums, these are the ones that I've seen in the stores have been pretty pricey. These are for connoisseurs and aficionados. It's not your everyday drinking rum.
Right, and yeah, so correct. The last 6 releases of Gregarious were in the $115 to $130 range.
Now, you can make a hurricane with that, but you might enjoy it by itself.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, so there's only a few independent bottlers in the U.S. that are doing 13, 15, 18, 19, 20-year-old rums, and they're all north of 150. So what I'm bottling is the currently the cheapest single cask strength rums in the U.S.
That are of that date. Yeah.
Well, of similar profile and age. They're all so far they've been all these. In fact, are going to be in the same price range. You're talking about nearly 20-year-old single barrel rum for under 130. And maybe even less than that.
I loved the first one you gave us, and then I tasted the second one.
I haven't tried the second one yet.
Holy cow, that's good.
Yeah,
that's just fantastic.
Hopefully we'll be expanding to California, New York, some other states too, but there's just so many good things that I want to put in the barrel while you still can. What a lot of people don't realize is all spirits are blowing up right now.
Yeah.
So we are really like in the last era of being able to put into the bottle of like really good aged stuff.
Because the demand is so high.
Everything's selling out.
Yeah. Right now, there's a lot of bourbon out there that has no age statement. It's under 6 years old. I can think of one in particular that's 2 years old, and it's $300.
Wow.
And no.
Yeah.
No.
That seems ridiculous.
So we're in the last era of like some really good single barrel rums, some really good single barrel cognacs and Armagnacs, because all those prices are just getting crazy.
That's amazing. Now, these are great, and I'm loving them. Let me ask you a little bit about the Houston Whiskey Social and the...
I think this is Adam's second glass.
Adam's second glass. We'll pass it along. Houston Whiskey Social in the time of COVID. Obviously, you wound up having to skip a year, right?
Yeah, well, we're skipping half a year.
Skipping half a year. Okay, so how's that going to work?
It was originally set for February, March, and we told ourselves that if the Houston Rodeo could happen, then we could happen. And that's not necessarily true. And we got wind kind of a little before they announced that the rodeo wasn't going to happen, that they were going to cancel it, and they did. It's just impossible to put 1,600 to 2,000 people in a building,
right,
with masks on. Even with masks on, it's still crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And with something where you're sampling,
and as much as
drinks.
you want to emotionally distance from everybody, you can't socially distance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what we're hoping to do, we were already planning on taking over more of the facility, more of the grounds, more tents outside, not just the cigar tent. We were hoping to do it in September, Bourbon Heritage Month, and then maybe October, November, do a Houston agave social.
Right.
All Mexican-based spirits.
I love that.
And I think what we need right now is more widely available vaccines. And
I believe they're coming. I do.
And once we get rid of the masks, then I think we're safe. Until then, it's a PR nightmare. It's an expensive. And these events to run for one night, I've told people before, it's pushing on $150,000 to put on that event for one night.
Just to put it on.
And if you screw it up, because you're ignoring Facebook, mask protocols and people's health, then there's lawsuits involved. So we'll
there's
wait.
no reason to go there.
We'll wait patiently.
Plus, you've got to get the spirit companies to be willing to be involved, and they've all got their own policies and protocols, right?
Yep. So we sent out emails to kind of touch on that. About half of the distilleries were like, yeah, we're ready to go when you are. Other half are like, we still have not been cleared for events that are that big. So we're just kind of we're in a holding pattern, in a penis-shaped holding pattern.
Penis-shaped holding pattern.
I love it.
And we're just waiting until.
So what's the best way for people to keep track of it?
Oh, great question. I should have thought of that. Go to HoustonWhiskeySocial.com. You can sign up for our newsletter. And we're only going to send you emails when we've got things worth sending. So it's not a weekly thing. In fact, we haven't sent one in months. You can sign up there, and we will announce when the next event starts. Of course, if you also go to our Facebook page, the Houston Whiskey Social, we will be... we're looking at a name change, too, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I think we're going to simplify it to just The Whiskey Social.
The Whiskey Social.
Yeah, it'll be The Whiskey Social Houston.
Yeah. All right.
And then Dallas.
Because then you could take it other places.
Own it, baby.
I love it. Well, that's fantastic. And I want to thank you, Chris, in all seriousness, for being on the show. It's always a blast when you're here.
Thanks for having me.
No matter what Alan Denny says, we enjoy your company and enjoy having you on the program. We like Alan, too, in fairness.
Of course. I have young children who also don't know what they're talking about. So you could just kind of take it with a grain of salt, right?
Well,
so you love them, you give them food and shelter, and they love you back, but you don't really take them seriously. Right?
I got it. I understand where you're coming from. Alan, we love you, brother. This has been great fun, and it's been delicious, and let's do it again soon.
Sure, I'm in.
I love it. All right. Chris Hart, his show is called Whiskey Neat. It can be found on ESPN here if you're in the Houston area. What time and day does it air?
Yeah, so every Friday morning we drop the podcasts on YouTube. I'm sorry, on iTunes and Google Play and all your podcasting platforms.
Right.
At 3 o'clock, so that when you wake up in the morning for drive time, you can listen to it then. We've had guests like Matthew McConaughey, William H. Macy.
Big time guests,
We've had a lot of great guests on the show. We've got a few more names we're working on, and another trip back to Los Angeles here soon. So
what are those two guys from Houston that you had on there a couple weeks ago?
That was a big deal.
We had on Ian and Cruze from the show called Smoking and
Those guys
Toasting
are
2 episodes
crazy.
ago.
My favorite part of that show is when Cruze goes, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, maybe I'm thinking of a different show.
Different episode, but
Different
just
episode.
as good looking.
Okay, well, there you go. Chris, thank you so much again. You were
Lincolns.
always welcome here, and you're considered one of our closest allies in the business, so thank you for everything. And thank you guys for being here for Smoking and Toasting number 222. We'll be back again next week with a whole bunch of stuff we didn't have time to get to this week, and more fun spirits and beers to taste. So have a great week, and as we love to say... Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, guys. Ding.
Ding.
Hardcore beer.